Okay. Next one is Malaysia and Thailand, for that matter. You might have heard of Petronas Towers. They're the tallest towers. The difference, although they're adjacent, between Malaysia and Thailand is pretty visibly evident. Malaysia was a British colony. Everything is orderly. Sidewalks connect, for example. Thailand was a little chaotic, just wandering around. I kept stumbling because the infrastructure wasn't as good. Traffic in Malaysia was very orderly, pretty good. In Thailand, totally hectic. People had no regard for lines on the roads, and streets were ripped up, and it took over an hour to go about 1.5 miles. I think I could have walked it easily. Much better. So a very hectic feel there, British feel to Malaysia. What was entertaining, this was about 5 or 6 years ago, is both countries had just elected brand new prime ministers. Both prime ministers ran on anti-corruption campaigns. A lot of payola going on. And when I got into the business meetings, what I found was that they shut the doors. The picture of the king and queen, like in Thailand, are there watching down on you. And immediately the local people, in many cases it wasn't our people, it was system integrators that were a subcontractor to, proceeded to pull out of their briefcase like the advanced copy of the contract that was coming that no one's supposed to have a copy of yet, but his brother-in-law knows the sister. So the corruption stuff and bribery seemed to be alive and well in both of those countries. I was a little surprised. Yeah.
Did you get to Phuket?
I did not. Just in and out of Bangkok, in and out of Kuala Lumpur.
What city in Malaysia?
Kuala Lumpur, they call it KL. Both cities, by the way, have brand new airports. This is a big, big thing in Asia. These things make O'Hare look like a third world country. These things are very upscale. Korea, same kind of thing. Narita Airport, I've never counted more 747s, like every plane at Narita Airport in Tokyo. So there's 747. I occasionally get to take vacations, believe it or not, so I went with some friends to Chiapas. Chiapas is the smallest state in Mexico. It's where Mexico comes down, then it narrows out, and then you hit the Yucatan Peninsula. So this little state of Chiapas is the poorest state. However, it is very rich in archaeological things like the pyramids. So one of the main touristy places is called Palenque, a very nice place. It's very rustic. We stayed partly with the native Indians. It was great. Probably one of the best vacations I ever had. However, it is also the home of the Zapatista Revolutionary Army, and this is the anti-federale army, and they constantly are trying to raise money and fight, and they also don't particularly like tourists, so it's a little bit shaky if you're a tourist going down there. We had 2 episodes. We had taken a tour bus over to the Usumacinta River, which is the border with Guatemala, and then you take an hour boat ride into the jungle. When we landed at the dock, what I remember are butterflies, huge swarms of butterflies. You were going like this to get up the steps to go to the Mayan ruins. It was great. It was like Indiana Jones. We came down, got back in the boat, went past the villages with the howling monkeys, and I remember a guy with a turtle upside down on his head, clearly lunch. And then we hit this roadblock, and we thought, how can there be a problem out here in the middle of nowhere? Well, the Zapatista Revolutionary Army, when they need money, they just run chains across the road and make it into a toll road for a fee of about $10 per American. I think it varies by what country, but for $10 American, you can get through and on your way. They didn't point guns at us or anything, but it was very clear that it was going to be a $10 mandatory charge. The other thing going on, I think I put in here, is we had booked ahead, my friend Maya, on this trip. This is us with the Indiana Jones stuff, hiking through the jungle. One comedy thing on this one, I should say, is when she told me how to pack, she said, although it's going to be jungle, it's going to be really hot, wear long sleeves and bring anti-malaria medicine. So you have to worry about a lot of things like that. So I had all these long sleeve cotton things, and although she has on long sleeves here, mostly she was wearing sleeveless outfits, and I was like sweating like a pig. It was the hottest thing I've ever happened. Anyway, she had picked out a brand new place that was in Lonely Planet for the first time. 2 American Peace Corps people, Ellen Jones and her mate or whatever, had bought a macadamia nut plantation. It had horses. You could stay in a thatched hut, pretty rustic, and then take the horses into the jungle and go see the Mayan ruins. But anyway, if you can read this, our beautiful guest ranch was invaded and taken by the Zapatistas at the end of February. This was after we booked and while we were on the road. So they relocated to Ocosingo, which is a nice mountain town. Nice because by being up in the mountains, it's cooler. And so it was actually a very nice place. And it's lovely, and you can stay here. But I have to tell you, we checked in there, and all night long, every time there was a noise, it was like I was wide awake and looking around for what was happening. So that was done. Almost done. Last fall, I took my sister and her husband from Iowa along on a trip. So they're here. You can probably see the resemblance. And the dirty little secret is if you go to Oktoberfest and you go to the Hofbräuhaus, this is the Hofbräuhaus with the Oompa band and everything, it's highly likely you will never meet any Germans there. It will all be tourists from other countries. So in this case, we're sitting with Irish people. We went there one other time, we were with Swedish people. So we got kind of an earful about the world perceptions of the United States and what was happening to the economy. The Irish people we got in good with because we immediately apologized for George Bush right off the bat to get that off the table, which made us very popular with them. Turns out almost no one, especially in Germany, liked George Bush. Don't get me wrong, people like Americans. They just don't like our government very much. The Irish, at one point, had the lowest tax rate in the UK, in Europe, in Western Europe. As a consequence, many American companies relocated their operational centers to Ireland. They have a very good educational system. A lot of people put their European headquarters there. The tax rates were low enough that the people became very prosperous. They are visibly prosperous. When I was in Ireland 3 years ago to give a talk, I circumnavigated the south half of the island, and I've never seen so much construction of beach homes along the ocean. And I heard on the radio they'd just done a census, and like 40% of all these houses are beach homes. Nobody was there when they came around to take the census. So they went from being near the bottom of Western Europe GDP standards to being very close to being the top. Huge amount of goodwill towards Obama, big concern about the economy. I think they said when the U.S. sneezes, we're the first ones in Europe to get a cold. So the cutbacks had already started happening in Ireland back during Oktoberfest time. If you have not been to Ireland, I would highly recommend it. I think I hit them on good weather, but to make up for all those gray days, the little shops and things are vividly painted, very, very brightly colored. This is a little town called Kenmare, and you can just see all the colors. And the other thing is I soon learned that all you had to do was watch for the marking. If you were driving into a town and it had won the honor of being a tidy town, it was going to look like this. It was just going to be a perfect little place to park and go sightseeing. It was almost like the candlestick maker and all the stuff out of Pittsburgh. Very high on Ireland. Okay, so that was a quick tour of different countries. What I want to do is introduce Oleg to you from Russia. Let me